welcome. It's November 17th, and thanks so much for being here as we continue these discussions about the difference between future husbands and boyfriends. And as I've been saying in this series, and I've got a fair amount to go in the series, but as I've been saying in this series, it's one thing to be a good boyfriend, but good boyfriends seldom make good husbands. They seldom move in the direction that is going to lead to being a faithful, committed husband and the sacrifice that is required to be a husband that resembles the love of Christ. I encourage you parents maybe to sit down and listen to this with your older daughters. Young women, if you're thinking about marriage or relationships, think about this. Young men, this is what God has for you. He hasn't called you to be a boyfriend. He's called you to be a future husband. And having that clearly lined in your heart gives you a focus, gives you understanding of what it means to be really committed and build a solid relationship in marriage rather than one that folds under the pressure of everyday life. Because that commitment isn't required if you're a boyfriend. It is required if you're a husband. So let's stop having the goal of being a good boyfriend and start having the goal of being someone who is worthy to be a future husband. We've talked about the future husband is going to be committed to the relational, spiritual, and physical health of his future wife, even now, before married. He's going to be committed to giving to her without the expectation of receiving. And I believe we've done 7 videos so far to this point. So we spent some time looking at this. The third component, and this is huge because our culture is just takes us in exactly the other direction, is a future husband will be satisfied with God's provision in his future wife. A future husband will be satisfied with the one flesh relationship with his wife even before he meets her, or even as he meets her. Because he's doing this to bring honor to God and not to himself. He's ultimately not even trying to please his girlfriend / future wife. He's of a mindset of wanting to please God first. A genuine one flesh relationship is about commitment to the glory of God with this union between this man and this woman, this future husband, this future wife. Sex is the representation of that, and it's phenomenal, but it's not the goal. Our culture has it, sex and sexual attraction has got to be the drive, but nothing could be further from the truth. Sex is a representation of a commitment to the glory of God and the honor of God. That's what Ephesians 5 is saying. That the one flesh relationship represents the relationship between Christ and the church. Let's not spiritualize this. Let's take it for what it means. It's practical in the day-to-day life that we're dealing with. So you see, we're talking much more than just the sexual activity. One flesh means being committed to bringing the healing love of Christ to his future wife. Let me say that again. Future husbands. Husbands, you could probably listen to this too. Future husbands, one flesh means being committed to bringing the healing love of Christ to your future wife. See, because this woman that you're going to marry is a human and is in need of the love of Christ and is broken, romanticism clouds us from that, and we lose sight of the fact that every human being is in need of Christ and broken in some way. Because she is human, she is hurting, and she's been impacted by your sin, by her sin, by the sin of this world. It's our job, husbands, it's your job as a future husband to be committed to these. That's why I spent these first several videos talking about being concerned about her relational, spiritual, and physical health, and about giving to her without expecting something back. Now, the one flesh relationship means that I'm committed to her relational, spiritual, and physical health for the purpose of showing Christ to her. Not about making it better for me, not about having the perfect marriage, but showing this individual, we got some cows back here, it's really cool, about showing the love of Christ to this person that God has placed you with to show her the wonder of Christ. Not the wonder of you, and not the things that you're going to get from this relationship, but what you're going to give to God. This means that you're not going to base your evaluation of your future wife based upon what you're going to get out of it, about how good it makes you look, about how, wow, I've really found it. This person is in need, this woman is in need of the loving care of Christ. And as her husband, God has called you to be the agent of giving that care to her. That means you don't lash out. That means you don't get mad at her. It doesn't mean you don't pay her back. But rather you treat her the way that Jesus treats you, with love and compassion, showing her the beauty of the Word by the way that you live. Not in some kind of a weird spiritual way, but by taking her life, the struggles, even the sins that she commits against you, and showing back the love of Christ to her. You will evaluate your future wife not based on what you want, but what can you give? How can you care for her? If we're going to be talking about sex in a couple of videos, but it means you're going to be satisfied with God's timing and provision for sexual activity. So you're not looking for it now. You're not placing the burden on your girlfriend or future wife to provide sex for you now. This whole notion of someone providing sex for you is the exact opposite of what sexuality and sexual activity is supposed to be about. It's about giving. It's about showing Christ to that person, yes, even in sexual activity, even in the bedroom. The future husband will be satisfied with the opportunity to show Christ to his wife, his future wife, and not look for satisfaction based upon what he's going to get back, but look for satisfaction in showing this person who needs the healing love of Christ, the beauty of Christ, as much as we can humanly do, because that's what God's called you to. And if you're in a relationship where you say, I'm not so sure about that, that means that you're not in a very good relationship. And if you try and make this thing work without these kind of core values, without this kind of core commitment to serve Christ first, you're laying the foundation for a rocky marriage. Doesn't mean that God can't heal or bring things around or bring repentance and all that. But going into it, we need to be about showing Christ in every facet of life and starting to build this one flesh relationship. The one flesh relationship does not start on the night you get married. It starts with the commitment that you make to this woman when you say you want to get married. That's when you start building that one flesh relationship. You start caring for her. And what can you do to show Christ to her instead of, what can I get out of this? Or, is this going to be cool? Or are we going to do fun things? Or are we going to do things that are really enjoyable? Because when you get into marriage, you find less and less time for those things. But you'll have chance every day, opportunity every day, to show the wonderful love of Christ to this future wife. And that's how we begin building the one flesh relationship. Women, that's how you can understand, is this guy committed to you or is he committed to God? Because if he's really committed to God, that's the only way he can truly be committed to you. Because you know you have your issues, just as he has his. So that's the foundation for building a one flesh relationship. One that's going to bring honor to Christ. And a future husband giving himself to that and not looking to what he can get. So that's this next installment in the Future Husband Boyfriend series. Again, love your feedback. Give me some thoughts, because I want this to be something that's really valuable for you. Again, until the next video, we'll get one in the next couple of days, continuing in this one flesh theme. Thanks so much for being here. And Lord willing, we'll see you the next time. You have a great day. Bye-bye.